Today's guide is brought to you in collaboration with my friends over at thedjhookup.com. What's up, passionate DJs? Welcome to my brand new ultimate guide to DJ mixers. So this guide compares the top DJ mixers available right now in 2024 so that you know how to spend your hard-earned money on a club mixer that makes sense for you. Now here's what to expect from this guide. It's going to be a comparison of the best club and festival-oriented mixers on the market. So I'll primarily be focused on 4-channel hardware mixers with modern features that come from major manufacturers and are available at typical hardware retailers. So that being said, I will not be focused on 2-channel scratch or battle mixers here, but I will be doing that in an upcoming guide. Ultimately, we just decided that it would be better to treat that as its own project, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss that. I'll also not be focusing on so-called boutique mixers. You know, these are your high-end rotary mixers produced by small businesses and things like that. I love that these things exist, but I've not really spent any meaningful time with those devices or reviewed them, and nor is that the point of this guide. Perhaps I'll be able to do a rotary mixer guide someday after I've had the chance to put my hands on more of them for a review. Now, all of the mixers discussed here will come from major manufacturers, come with warranties and all that stuff, and you'll be able to buy them at a retailer such as the sponsor of today's video, the DJ Hookup. Which really pleases me because they're also the highest rated DJ retailer online, with thousands of 5-star reviews that you could go read right now. They offer fast, free shipping, 90-day returns, and financing options. The DJ Hookup is staffed with friendly, knowledgeable DJs who will help answer any questions that you have in the little chat bar down below. They're also our longest running sponsor here on Passionate DJ, and they've consistently been one of our biggest supporters. So if you like to support the people that support us, then please buy from thedjhookup.com because they sell DJ equipment to their friends. It's that simple. So when choosing a mixer, it's important to think about what your requirements are and what you care about. So as far as your requirements, you need to think about if you're married to any software or platform. So if a particular mixer needs to be able to unlock Serato or Rekordbox or something like that, then you'll need to keep that in mind. Also, the ports and connections that are on the top and back of the mixer. You know, does it have a USB sound card or a dual USB sound card? Do you plan on sharing the mixer with anyone? What kind of connections does it have? How many turntables can you hook up? And so on. And of course, your budget. And then as far as what you care about, you know, what are the features that you care about? Are you the kind of DJ that uses a lot of effects and you really care about that stuff? Or filters? Or do you like to get surgical with the mix? Are you a scratch DJ? Do you need to make sure it has a crossfader on there? The other things are maybe sound quality and build quality. So we're going to talk about all these different things in context here, and I'll do my best to try to compare these mixers from my own experience and tell you what I think about them and kind of who each of these mixers kind of might be for. So before we get to comparing the mixers to each other, let's go ahead and just kind of introduce the whole lineup of mixers. Now, one thing I want to be clear about is that this is not a top list in the sense that I'm ranking these in any order. I'm just going to kind of introduce them the way that I've written the script here. And I'm going to start with the sort of club standard that we all know, which is the Pioneer DJM-A9. This is the club standard redefined. They took the iconic DJM-900 Nexus design into the modern era with really impressive sound quality and a bunch of crispy new updates. Now, the A9 features multiple improvements over its predecessor, and it raises the bar for 4-channel club standard mixers. It's clearly a better piece of hardware than the 900 Nexus 2, but the mixer's also very familiar. In many ways, it's the same old DJM club mixer that we've loved for decades. The A9 inherits the audio circuitry from the V10, which was released earlier, and we'll talk about that shortly. The V10 costs about $1,000 more, and while neither mixer is cheap, it's nice to know that we can get the best sound quality that Pioneer DJ has to offer in the standard 4-channel offering. So inside you'll find 2 high-end chips made by ESS Technology. The first is the analog to digital converter, which brings in crystal clear 32-bit audio and a very flat noise floor. The second chip converts the signal back from digital to analog. It has very impressive dynamic range and extremely low total harmonic distortion levels. Now, I know that's a lot of gobbledygook, but basically these ESS converters are used in all sorts of audiophile grade gear. So suffice to say, the A9 sounds incredibly nice. It produces very crisp, clear, and well-rounded sound, and it's notably better than its predecessor. There are 4 line inputs and 4 phono inputs, so you could connect 4 turntables if you wanted. You have the typical XLR and RCA main outputs, a 1/4-inch booth output, and a record output. There's a full set of digital coax inputs, as well as a main output to gain full advantage of that 32-bit circuitry. Now, the phantom-powered mic input means you can connect a high-quality condenser mic straight to the A9, which is something I've actually never seen on a DJ mixer before. There are 3 independent mic effects, plus a reverb, so you can modify your vocals without taking up a beat effects slot. The faders are all really solid, they feel really nice, and a Magvel crossfader is included for those of you who want to be able to scratch. There is kind of a rather precarious Bluetooth Wi-Fi antenna which dangles off the back of the unit. I'd recommend disconnecting this and putting it aside for home use if you're not using it. But that said, Bluetooth connectivity is a pretty nice touch. My biggest complaint about the mixer might be its lack of built-in Ethernet hub. This seems like a missed opportunity to me. There is a single jack here, but without a hub, you still have to include an external one for many setups. Like all flagship Pioneer mixers, the A9 feels very well built, though it's a good deal larger than previous 4-channel mixers from the company. It's got a great sounding output, a great sounding mixing bus, and all the connectivity that any club or festival DJ needs. The A9 is a worthy successor to the DJM-900 Nexus 2, but it's not a revolutionary one. But the quote-unquote industry standard mixer for festival and club installations got a major sound quality upgrade here, and personally, I can only see that as a good thing. Now next up, we're going to talk about the Pioneer DJM-V10. Now if you're a DJ, or if you're especially like a DJ live act hybrid who wants to be able to connect all sorts of types of sound sources and route them, but you really care about sound quality, then this is the mixer for you. It enables you to get precise and surgical with your individual tracks and mix them how you want. Now, first of all, everything that I just said about the A9 in terms of sound quality also applies here, because of course this is where that circuitry came from. The V10 sounds terrific, and it produces audio full of energy and presence. Now, the DJM-V10 is 6-channel, which for many DJs is, well, a lot, but again, this is a mixer that's about helping you do whatever you want to do. In my original review, I called it the Great Enabler. Now, due to the onboard compressors, I was able to squeeze new life into old vinyl records or 80s synthesizers noises and mix them with modern tracks and have everything gel together. Plus, with a 4-band EQ on each channel, you get even further control over each little slice of the audio spectrum. Now, historically, you only found this on higher-end Allen and Heath mixers, so I found this to be a really nice addition. It also has a really great sounding filter system. You can select low or high pass, the amount of resonance, and then apply it to any of the 6 channels or the overall master output. With the resonance turned down, you get really clean and crispy sounding filters, which are great to use as a mixing tool. When turned up, you get that squelchy Pioneer sound that they're known for. The V10 has a super high quality suite of effects, just like the A9, and as is expected by a Pioneer DJ club mixer, but it also has connections for 2 external sends, as well as 4 built-in send effects. So whether you want to do surgery to your mix on the board itself, or send it out to other processors, guitar pedals, and bits and bobs and return it back, this mixer is up to the task. There's so much you can do with this mixer, and I demonstrate as much of that as I can in my original review video. The V10's biggest hurdle is, of course, its price. At $34.99, you're truly paying a premium for all this versatility. It's also offered as the V10 LF, which stands for long faders, and that costs $100 more. And basically this removes the crossfader and assignment buttons and replaces your channel faders with longer 60mm ones. Alright, next up I want to talk about the Pioneer DJM-750MK2. So what if you want that essential Pioneer DJ club mixer experience that we're talking about, but you don't have multiple thousands of dollars to spend on your setup? So I call the 750MK2 the poor man's 900, or now the poor man's A9. And what I mean by that is that it gets you a very similar experience to the flagship mixers, but at a price that's a lot more down to earth. The 750 is also a great way to get access to Pioneer DJ's iconic suite of effects without having to buy the latest and greatest top-end mixer. And indeed, that's one thing that you're going to find lacking on the remaining mixers on today's list. Some of them have less robust effects, and some of them don't have onboard effects at all. So if good effects are more important to you than the fancy features and the audiophile sound quality of the V10 or the A9, then the DJM-750 Mark II is a solid choice. Another thing to consider is the fact that it comes with a high-quality Magvel crossfader, so if you're the type of DJ who needs more than 2 channels but you also scratch, this mixer is up to the task right out of the box. The biggest disappointment about the 750 might be the fact that it's not Serato compatible. If you need a way to unlock that software, this may not be the mixer for you. It's basically the only reason I've kept around my old DJM-850. That's damn near the same mixer as this, but I need something around that supports Serato. Now, however, it does unlock Rekordbox Performance Mode and DVS, so if you're already all in on Pioneer DJ, hey, no problem. Or, if you're using XDJs or CDJs or some other player like that, it's also no problem. For many DJs, this mixer is a much smarter choice than the A9 or the V10, or even buying an older 900 Nexus 2. It takes that design, keeps everything that's truly important, and strips away all the extraneous features that you may not need if you're not plugging into a 50,000 watt festival system every weekend. If you're an older DJ and you grew up on a DJM 500 or 600 like me, you'll feel right at home on this mixer. If you're used to a DJM-A9 or other modern Pioneer mixer, but you can't justify spending that kind of money, you'll also feel right at home with this mixer. Next up is the Allen & Heath XONE 96. Allen & Heath hardware has been a mainstay of both studios and DJ booths all over the world. They introduced 4-band EQs and industry-leading filters to the DJ mainstream many years ago, and it's become a staple of their flagship mixers ever since. The XONE 96, a lot like the V10, is a device which is meant to help you connect almost any kind of sound source you want, pick it apart, and mix it all together in a buttery smooth mixing bus. The top of the mixer has a classic silver finish, giving it a somewhat industrial appearance. Everything you touch feels meaty, and the 60mm faders are extremely smooth. There are no accusations of this mixer feeling cheap or gaudy. Put simply, the finish and build quality are everything you expect from a top-tier Allen & Heath product. It's advertised as a 6+2 channel mixer. Unlike most DJ mixers on the market, it contains a 4-band EQ instead of the usual 3, again like the V10. So instead of a mid knob, it's split into high mid and low mid, which gives you an extra level of control. But you also won't find any onboard effects. Instead, the XONE 96 does have a very flexible send-return system so that you can add effects or sound processors or synths or whatever your heart desires. In fact, Send 1 is switchable from line to high Z level, so you could even incorporate, instrument level effects like classic guitar pedals. And of course, it has those legendary assignable Allen & Heath filters that everyone loves. And then there's crunch. Crunch is a controlled harmonic distortion effect that sits before the filter. So the idea is that you can adjust the level where the preamplifier clips the input signal, which can sort of create a harmonic distortion as a creative effect. So in other words, it makes it sound crunchy. The XONE 96 has impeccable sound quality, and while it's got USB ports and MIDI connectivity and all the features that you'd expect from a modern digital mixer, it's high-end analog circuitry at its core. Essentially, they took the existing guts of the legendary XONE 92, latched a high-end 32-bit sound card on top of it, and brought it into the modern era for digital DJs. Scratch DJs will be happy to know that it also includes an Innovator Mini with a super sharp cut, so this is truly a no-compromises mixer. Now that said, if sound cards aren't your thing, the XONE 92 is actually still available. You can get the classic design, the legendary filters, and everything else that you love about a XONE, just without that digital connectivity. This is a hardware mixer through and through, which might appeal to someone who doesn't use DJ software at all. For example, you could be a digital DJ who uses CDJs, XDJs, or SC6000s as your players, and these would work fine on this analog board. It also works for vinyl DJs, though it's important to note that the 96 has a much improved phono preamp, which gets louder than the ones on the 92, so if you play a lot of older records, you might actually struggle to bring those up to volume. The XONE 92 is $17.99 and the XONE 96 is $24.99, so neither of these mixers are cheap, but you're definitely paying for quality, and the capability for the price is unmatched by its Pioneer DJ counterparts. Okay, the Denon DJ Prime X1850. If there's one thing that Denon DJ is good at, it's providing affordable hardware alternatives. At $11.99, this is one of the most affordable 4-channel mixers on the market. And for this price, you get a ton of valuable features. For example, if you look at the back, you'll see it has full digital coax connectivity, a send-receive system, a dual USB sound card, 4 phono inputs, and my personal favorite feature, the Ethernet hub. Now, unlike some of the other mixers on this list, you also get a suite of onboard effects. The single knob sweep effects, which is the equivalent to Pioneer DJ's color effects, are separate from the filter knob. And this is kind of a nice touch because it means you don't have to choose between the filter or these effects. It also has 16 onboard BPM effects, which can be controlled with a touch strip, and has a quantize function to keep them locked in time. So overall, it's fantastic to have these effects on a 4-channel mixer at this price. Though I must admit, they're not my favorite in the world. They don't compare at all to the quality of Pioneer DJ effects, so don't expect that. But it's the only mixer we're talking about today with a built-in Ethernet hub, and I've got to say, if your setup requires an Ethernet network for music sharing, this saves a lot of wiring spaghetti. Running a separate powered hub for this sucks, and I wish more mixers had this. The X1850 is an obvious choice if you're an Engine OS user. For example, you already have a set of Denon DJ players. You can connect your players to the central mixer with the Ethernet hub, and everything gets along in harmony while matching that now iconic green and black color scheme. The network carries tempo information, it supports ultra-fast music file transfer, and provides StageLink audio-visual connections. Okay, so let's talk about the nerd option. Rather than talk about who the Model 1 and 1.4 mixers are for, it's way easier to talk about who they're not for. And we can figure that out by examining what the mixer doesn't have. For example, there's no crossfader, nor is there any way to adjust the upfader curves. So that rules out pretty much any hip-hop DJ or anyone who wants to scratch. There's no mic input, so it's clearly not meant for mobile DJs or anyone who needs to stop the music for an announcement. It has a robust send and return system, but this is used in place of onboard effects, so it's not exactly aimed at DJs who like to work within the box. There's no flanger or spiral or reverb or anything like that. And there's not even an onboard sound card. There's no USB ports to be found thanks to a focus on fully analog circuitry. So these mixers aren't aimed at traditionalists whatsoever. You'll quickly notice there's not even a typical low, mid, high EQ situation on the channels. Other than the main mix, your audio shaping duties will be performed by a set of resonance-free filters. Between the filters is a sculpt EQ, which is probably not like anything else you're used to. Above each channel you'll find a drive control, which is very similar to the crunch effect we talked about on the XONE 96. The Model 1 is a 6-channel version at $24.99, and the Model 4 is a 4-channel version at $17.99. This is the only major difference between the mixers, and they can even be linked together to form one massive 10-channel mixer. So in my opinion, this is the perfect love it or hate it mixer. There are two different kinds of DJs who'll find value in them. There are purists who want a fully analog experience, like your vinyl audio files, and then there's the DJ producers who like breaking their songs into individual little pieces to create something new, and they prioritize sound quality. So the PLAYdifferently mixers are intended to be used like musical instruments, and like a musical instrument, its intent is clear, specific, and limited. That means this is a very niche product. The Model 1 and 1.4 doesn't hold your hand. It provides a totally new way to think about sculpting your mix. The dual filters on each channel are brilliant, but the weird EQ might drive you crazy. It did me. And yet, what a beautiful piece of kit that provides a lovely sonic output. And then further straying from the traditional club mixer layout, we have the Euphonia, made by AlphaTheta, which is Pioneer DJ's parent company. Now, when I think of rotary mixers, I think about delicate blending, long transitions, analog warmth, and a minimalist design that puts its entire focus on smooth mixing. You know, I also tend to think of them as fairly limited. When using a rotary, you're often signing up for something that doesn't give you the technological benefits enjoyed by most DJs, such as onboard USB sound cards or high-resolution screens or digital inputs. And so AlphaTheta solves this problem by offering a hybrid analog-digital rotary mixer. So this is a simple, intuitive, and classy 4-channel hardware mixer with an extreme focus on sound quality, both in terms of the way it internally mixes tracks together and its overall sound output. This contains an even higher grade analog-digital converter situation than even the DJM-V10 and A9. And through its hybrid design, all of its sound ultimately passes through an analog transformer circuit by the legendary Rupert Neve designs. And yes, let me just tell you, the Euphonia sounds absolutely amazing. Now, during testing, it added a notable, pleasing color to the music that wasn't present when compared to a normal digital mixer. Now, on top of the way it sounds, the Euphonia is meant to look and feel special. There's a high-quality display, but it's fairly small and minimalist, and it displays an emulation of multi-channel analog VU meters. The sides are made out of painted wood, the knobs are finished in copper trim, and glossy surfaces meet up with matte finish. It has effects, but only a few, while providing a set network for you to add your own. The overall design is delightfully unfussy, and it embraces the hybrid nature of this mixer. Now, undoubtedly, many of you would like me to compare it to other limited-run rotary mixers on the market, but the fact is, the Euphonia brings something to the table that all those other boutique rotaries don't: playability. A rotary mixer usually comes with some compromise, mostly due to their analog nature. But AlphaTheta released a mixer that doesn't require you to give up the convenience and usability of a digital setup, while still having a pleasing analog warmth added to the entire mix bus. Now, that said, it's the most expensive mixer we're talking about today, while certainly not being the most versatile one. Now, if you wander off the beaten path of DJ hardware companies, you'll find a scrappy little outfit called Reloop. This is a company that's good at finding holes in the market and filling those needs. The RMX-95 is the least expensive 4-channel mixer on today's list, but it offers a lot of bang for its $1,100 buck. This type of product is a rarity in the DJ market these days, and by that I mean it's a product that doesn't try to sell itself on gimmicks or on a feature set that prices itself out of our budgets. It's quite simply a good mixer. What that means is you get a decent build quality and all the main features and connectivity you need, and a dual USB sound card, but not a ton of bells and whistles. If you happen to use Algorithm's DJ software, this mixer will be especially appealing. It enables advanced DVS support for DJ Pro AI with Neural Mix, even if you're using it with their mobile app. However, the big issue here is more that it doesn't unlock Serato, which you'd almost expect from a device like this. Similar story with Rekordbox, though that's probably unsurprising. So you aren't able to use those two pieces of software unless you have some other way to unlock it. That said, there are many other great uses for a well-priced 4-channel hardware mixer like this. For example, you could pair it with a pair of standalone players like CDJs or XDJ-1000s, or you could pair it with some Denon LC6000 controllers and use it with Virtual DJ or some other software. You could use it to mix vinyl or with timecode records and mix with Traktor, Virtual DJ, and Algorithm DJ. And with the dual USB sound card, you could mix from the Algorithm app with USB-A and Traktor. Look, all that to say, if you're not reliant on Serato or Rekordbox software in performance mode, this is a great option for the price, with a timeless design and decent build quality. So first let's talk software support. Now if you want to use Serato, you can do that with Club Kit, which costs $2.99 or a $12 a month subscription, and that's supported on the DJM-A9, V10 Euphonia, and the X1850 Prime. These are the mixers that support Rekordbox, the A9 V10, the 750 Mark II, and the Euphonia. As far as Traktor goes, it's basically supported by all these mixers. They used to have a Traktor certification program, but now they have what they call Scratch for All. So basically, if you have the right inputs, Traktor Scratch will work no matter what. For Algorithms DJ, we've got the A9, the Zone 96, the 1850, and the Reloop mixer. The one exception here is that on the A9, the Ethernet port for the Pro DJ Link bridge that connects the CDJs together doesn't work. So that is one little caveat. Probably not a big deal, because if you're using DJ, then you're probably using software as your sound source, but just something to bear in mind. If you use Virtual DJ, that's compatible with the A9, the V10, the 750 Mark II, the 1850 Prime, and the Reloop RMX-95. Now, on all of these except the Reloop, the modern EQ feature is only available on the middle channels, 3 and 4. If you don't know what that is, no big deal, but basically it's just an EQ feature that Virtual DJ does that kind of isolates the hi-hats. If you care about scratching, then you're going to, of course, want a crossfader. So you're going to be looking at the DJM-A9, the V10, the 750 Mark II, the Zone 96, probably not the 92 because it does have a nice crossfader, but it's not really an Innovator Mini like on the 96 that's meant for scratching. On the 1850, it's also got what they call the flex fader. It can probably functionally scratch, but it's not one of the better ones for this choice. And same goes with the RMX-95, but the nice thing is that it's drop-in compatible with an Innovator. So you take like 2 screws out and then drop a nice high-quality scratch crossfader in there and you're good to go. So that could be a good path for someone who wants a 4-channel scratch-capable mixer. But all the Pioneers have Magvels and they're pretty much good to go. So as far as ports and connections, all of these mixers are going to have XLR outputs and 1/4-inch booth outputs. They all have standard IEC power cables except for the Model 1 and 1.4, which have a separate little power supply unit. And they all have at least 2 phono inputs, some of them have 4, so that you can connect turntables. If you need to connect a laptop, the 750 Mark II and the Euphonia have single USB connections, and these mixers have dual USB connections, the A9, V10, Zone 96, 1850 Prime, and RMX-95. The Zone 92 and the Model 1 and 1.4 are entirely analog mixers, no digital interface at all, and therefore have no USB ports. If you need digital coax connections, these are the mixers that support that. So if you have, say, CDJ 3000s or some other kind of player that have digital outputs and you want to connect them that way, you can use the A9, the V10, the 1850, or the Euphonia. It's also worth mentioning that the RMX-95 has a USB hub built in, which is great, and of course the X1850 has an Ethernet hub built in. Those are the only mixers that have those features. If you care about effects, these are the mixers that are good at that. The A9, the V10, and the 750. They have those iconic Pioneer effects, especially the V10 and A9, that will keep you busy for a long time. The 1850 Prime Euphonia and the RMX-95 have what I'm just going to call okay effects. It's maybe a little unfair to the Euphonia because those effects sound really good. There's just only like 5 of them. So if you care about effects a lot, then it's probably not the one for you. But then again, the Zone 96, 92, and the Model 1 and 1.4 don't have effects at all. But that being said, all of the mixers we're talking about here, except for the Reloop, have some sort of send-return system, so you can send out to some kind of effects unit and then bring it back into the mixer. In particular, the Zone 96 and the V10 are very robust for this. The Reloop is the only one that doesn't have this capability. The Reloop does have effects built in, but they're just not that great. So if you don't care about effects that much, the Reloop might be for you. If you do, you're kind of stuck with kind of mediocre ones. And then we need to talk about sound quality. Now, for my standard disclaimer, it's difficult to discuss sound quality and character here on YouTube. Even if I had, top-tier monitors, a treated room, and magic ears, whatever I say is going to be subjective. That said, it even feels kind of weird to even make a great tier because all of these are amazing sounding mixers. The exceptional ones are the Euphonia and the PLAYdifferently Model 1 and 1.4. Those mixers use their fancy analog circuitry to squeeze out a level of clarity, particularly in the mid-range, that just gives it that extra 5%. Now honestly, you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between all the top choices without comparing them all on the same day in the same treated room. That's not something I can usually make happen. You know, there was over a year that passed between the XONE 96 and the V10 being in my studio, so really I can only tell you what I remember and what I said at the time. The Euphonia sounded very pleasing to my ears, and it added a noticeable, pleasing color to the music that wasn't present when compared to a normal digital DJ mixer. So if you're insane about sound quality and you want the best, the Euphonia is where it's at. But I did compare the Euphonia and the V10 at the same time, which will sound exactly like the A9, and while I could tell the difference between the two, it was hard. Like, I was really trying to hear the difference. The truth of the matter is that the V10 sounded incredible, and if I hadn't been able to literally A/B test them, I'm not sure I'd even try to make this claim. I wish I could compare the Euphonia and the Model 1 directly so I could give you my opinion between those two, but my initial impressions of the Model 1 were very similar. Great clarity in the mid-range, and a buttery smooth mixing bus. But unless you have magic ears, I wouldn't dismiss the lesser mixers on this list. There's no mixer here that sounds bad, or I wouldn't have included it. The fact is, we're in a whole new world of sound quality these days, and it's rarer to get a device that sounds awful than one that sounds pretty darn good. I'm sorry that I couldn't have all these mixers together on the same day to do a thorough this versus that kind of video, but rest assured that if you're paying for one of the upper tier mixers, you're getting upper tier sound. Now let's talk about some alternative options. If you insist on having a hardware mixer but you don't need 4 channels, there are a couple of 2-channel options available. For example, the Pioneer DJM-250 Mark II is a bare-bones, no-frills mixer that doesn't have any effects, but it only costs $389. It comes with a Magville crossfader, and it unlocks Rekordbox with DVS. So this is a great entry-level scratch mixer, but of course would work fine for other DJs as well. You could step up to the DJM-450 for $769. This is a small and simple 2-channel mixer too, but it throws in some beat effects and sound color effects, so it feels a little more like a Pioneer DJ mixer. There's also the Allen & Heath XONE 23 and XONE 23C. The C version is the one that has a sound card, and it costs $599. I reviewed this a million years ago. In fact, it was one of the first hardware reviews I ever did, but it's still out there and is a solid piece. But the most important thing to consider here is whether you actually need a DJ mixer, as opposed to an all-in-one DJ controller or a full standalone DJ system. This kind of hardware tends to give you more value and will almost always come with all the software necessary to enable you to use the latest DJ features. So consider using a DJ controller and laptop, or using a full standalone DJ system instead of a separate mixer and players. I've released guides for both of those things, and they're a lot like this video. By the time you're done watching all 3, I promise you'll have more information than you'll ever need on current DJ gear. I've added links to all these things in the description below. No matter what you choose, I hope you'll consider buying from my friends at thedjhookup.com because, again, they made all these guides possible. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and as always, keep on spinning.